What's the difference between skills and expertise? For example, you can play the guitar, but are you Jimi Hendrix? We're going to talk about the difference today. Thanks for joining me. So the difference between a guy who can play the guitar, and that's a skill, versus Jimi Hendrix, who's the expert, is quite a wide gap. But we're going to talk about how you can utilize that within your life and how I've done the same thing in my way as a speaker, a performer, and I'm excited to have you join me here today. And let me just, before I start this whole thing, let me pull back the curtain on what you're seeing here. I know that you're just looking through this camera and you think this is all magically appearing before you, but here's the thing. There's a difference between skills and expertise in just what you're watching on this video. I'm pulling back the fourth wall. I want you to know that you might have the skill of setting up a camera or putting up a nice backdrop of library books, or maybe you can do some lights, or maybe you can do a microphone. There's a microphone above my head you can't even see. I want you to know that lots of people have those skills, but it's only experts that are able to make a living at it and make it work for a long time. You see, I've invested a lot of money to make this video just for you. And it's important for you to understand the difference between hiring someone with a skill versus being grateful you're working for someone that's an expert. I'm actually in this room right now with experts. They're directing me, they're helping me through, they're doing the lights, the sound, so I don't have to worry about it. We have editors that are experts. All of those things matter. And so the people you surround yourself with, they might have good skills, but you want to surround yourself with experts, and you need to understand the difference between skills and expertise is truly a make or break situation for your own success. So I hope you enjoy that I just pulled back the curtain a little bit. Maybe someday we'll do it behind the scenes. That would be a cool video. So when it comes to skills, the definition of a skill is something you have learned how to do, and it may have been a gift or a talent, but now it's a skill. It's something that you can actually execute on. And then the difference between that skill and becoming an expertise is how often you've used that skill in a manner of high level intensity. And so as you work towards that expertise, now you're utilizing that skill over and over again. You've probably failed a lot of times in order to get there. Failing to get to expertise is very essential, because if we're only succeeding, we're probably not pushing enough to become the expert we need to become. So for example, if I used public speaking, let's just say, the public speaking example of skills is that I am a speaker. And then the expertise is that I can captivate an audience and I can move and inspire them with my words. Big difference. You've heard lots of speakers that did not move you, but when you hear an expert, it changes the way that you see a speaker. Did you get that? How about networking? There's a skill of being able to meet people, and then there's the skill of being able to create a community out of those people, get them to buy from you, and creating a network of association. There's a whole major difference between the two. My other favorite one I like to talk about is the difference between a guitar player and Jimi Hendrix. I mean, that sounds like a humongous jump, and it is, but think about all the guitar players you know in your life. Maybe you're one of them. I know I learned how to play the guitar. Then there are people that take it to a level of expertise because they went in the studio, tried to record. They started writing songs. They challenged themselves to play songs they couldn't play. They put together a band. Now, these are the people that become the experts because they're using their skill so often. They're failing enough to succeed. They're keeping the promise that they want to create their signature moves for themselves, and then they become the expert known for that. When I say the name of Jimi Hendrix, you imagine a guy with a guitar if you know who I'm talking about. Those are his signature moves. You have yours as well. That's how you go from skills to expertise. So let's talk about the importance in career development of skills and expertise. So for example, skills get you in the door, expertise keeps you there. My dad told me that quote 25 plus years ago when he first stuck his neck out and he invited me to come and perform for his events that he was a part of. He wasn't putting events together, no. He was just attending the events, and then he told the event planner about his son, who was a brand new, unproven performer. Yeah, my dad opened the door. He knew I had the skill set, but he also knew that I would become the expert. He saw the amount of practice that I had put in, and he used to say, "Hey, son," because I would say, "Dad, I can't believe you opened that door for me." And he said, "Hey, I opened the door, you kicked it open." And so then he said, "And you're the one that stayed in the room." I'm so grateful for those opportunities from somebody like my dad. I mean, talk about a big risk. But he understood that I had been working very hard at the skill set of entertaining people. The next thing I knew, I was performing for his very important important clients, the people that mattered the most to him outside of his family in his business success. We're talking millionaires, billionaires, sports celebrities, you name it. These were important people that had seen everything, but they'd never seen me. And so I'm grateful that my dad was able to open that door for me. Now you might be thinking, well, I don't have a dad who can help me with that. Well, okay, then go find the mentors that can help you, not just open the door, but help you open the door and stay in the room. The best way that you can do this is by discovering your signature moves. I've spoken about this my entire career and I absolutely believe it wholeheartedly. You have to realize what your value proposition is. And as you become more skillful at that thing that you're good at, you become the expert by trying it over and over again. And so with your signature moves, if you're not quite sure what they are yet, go to icmprocess.com and download that cool sheet that I've put together. It's an assessment form that will transform your life. It'll take you from skillful at one thing to an expert at what you want to become great at, because you'll identify, clarify, and magnify your great talents and gifts. And so when I was starting to be a performer, I got and took every chance I possibly could to go from just skilled at performing to being an expert that everyone wanted to hire over and over again. You see, I started as a skilled performer who didn't charge very much to then becoming an expert who charged a lot of money because the clients were throwing money at me. You see, when you're an expert, people will pay you whatever you need to be paid in order for them to work with you. That's something that's very important that you need to understand. Experts are desirable to work with the most. So there's a quote that says that skills are tools in a toolbox, while expertise is a craftsman who knows how and when to use them. When you think about somebody who's a great craftsman, yeah, they might have a bunch of tools all over the garage, but then you watch them build something, you realize, oh wow, that's what an expert creates. Let's talk about some quick case studies just to prove my point. Dr. Jane Goodall, hopefully you've heard of her. She had the skill and knowledge in primatology, but then she created the expertise for all of us to see animals, especially chimpanzees and monkeys, so that we are able to understand better about their lives. One of my favorite examples is a sushi maker named Hiro Ono. There's a Netflix documentary I saw years ago called Hiro Dreams of Sushi. And what's so interesting about this guy, he lives in Japan and he is this masterful chef. It's one thing to be a sushi chef that has that skill set, but to become the expert guru, everybody waits in line for years and years on a waiting list to get into this restaurant just because Hiro is the ultimate expert. He took a skill and he created it into his expertise. Another favorite would have to be Freddie Mercury. If you're a fan of Queen like I am, here's a guy who had a skill of singing and turned it into Freddie Mercury. There are so many examples that I could go into, but I hope that you get the point. Here's some often overlooked examples as to skills and expertise. How about writing a really good email? You might write a lot of emails, but is it really an expert version, the kind that could sell you? How about listening? Like a basic listener versus somebody who's actively listening, that's an expert. Or then there's blogging. There's a million blogs out there. Like the skill of blogging is one thing, but becoming the expert that people share and quote and subscribe to your blog, that's a big deal. I've actually made other videos about that if you want to check out on this very channel and type in this exact title, How to Build an Audience for Your Blog. You see, it really all just comes down to the ICM process, discovering your signature moves, knowing what you're going to be sharing with your audience, and that's how you go from being skilled to an expert. And so I hope you'll join me at icmprocess.com, because as you do, you will now identify, clarify, and magnify for yourself what your skills are, but then how you can take it to becoming an expert. It really just takes practice, commitment, keeping a promise to yourself to create something greater of the skills that you already have, and I wish you best with it.